Thank you for being patient with me. Next, I would like to invite my friend, who we argue all the time, but it's okay, it's brotherly love. Omer Javed, who he will introduce our keynote speakers. So Omer is a dedicated and active leader of the Central Valley community. He was involved in various local initiatives. He has served as a past president of the Madera Coalition for Community Justice and a past vice president of Madera County Workforce Development Board. He is the co-founder of MAC-PAC, and he's the one who lured me into all this. So fine, I'll do it. Has created a food share project to support those in need. Omer was also one of the key activists who helped facilitate the ceasefire proclamation in Madera City with I still call him Mayor because he's still a mayor in my eyes, Mayor Santos Garcia. Today, Omer works as a financial service professional. He's been a consistent advocate for equity and community well-being. Please welcome Omer Javed.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody who's here today. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of faces I've seen before. I also want to thank Mydeen for allowing us to use their facilities. This is such an amazing place, and I feel like we're still only using 5 or 10% of the facilities that we have here. All right, so with that, it's my pleasure to bring up your guys' presenter for the evening and give you guys a little bit of background about him as well, too. So he's a man who has dedicated much of his life to a fight for a more equitable and compassionate America. He's a Navy veteran who served our country with honor, and he's a seasoned professional. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. And he's a seasoned professional with decades of experience in law. He brings a rare blend of intellect, skill, and real-world know-how to the political arena. He's run for Congress multiple times, not out of ambition, but out of a deep sense of responsibility. He supports Medicare for all, a labor bill of rights, strong climate action, and a nationalized right to vote. Most importantly, though, he brings ideas, integrity, and heart to everything he does. So with that, please help me welcome up Mike Barkley to do our presentation. Thank you.
I'm going to try my best to live up to that. Forgive me for not standing. I tore a ligament in my knee a few weeks ago, and Mr. Kundi said I should speak for a half hour, and I don't think I could stand here and do that. However, I did make some notes. I'm a lawyer, an inactive CPA, a computer programmer, a small business owner, a rancher, an activist in environmental land use and water issues. I'm running in Congressional District 5, which has a history of high volume of voting and electing Republican Tom McClintock. Last November, I received 140,919 votes, which is a lot, but it's not yet enough to defeat Tom, so I need to work harder. District 5 is physically large. It runs from Shaw, here in Fresno, up to Pilot Hill, north of El Dorado Hills. That's all of Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Mariposa counties. The west half of El Dorado County, the east half of Stanislaus County, the east half of Madera County, and a scoop out of the north of the city of Fresno, plus Fresno Mountains from Auberry south to Hume Lake, but it excludes Clovis. It takes 5.5 hours to drive from one end to the other. Where we are here, I believe, is District 20. Across the street, I think, is District 21. And down the street at East Bullard and North First, all 3 districts meet. So if you go down there, you have to choose which one you're going to vote in. Mr. Kundi gave me a list of 7 points to discuss, and I found them to be a good challenge, so I will follow that list. At the end, I will be happy to address any questions you may have. I have a stack of business cards to share with my home address, my home phone, my personal email, and 2 websites, and I do answer the phone, unlike that McClintock guy, so you're welcome to call me whenever. Number 1, why is it important to participate in politics and narrate your own story that inspired you? Anyone here work with commercial real estate or exchanges? Anyone here a public accountant?
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm going to do a little educating here. With real estate, to avoid paying tax on the profit, you can trade it for a bigger one and postpone the tax. I traded out of East Oakland into Manteca to a property twice as large as the one I had, which seemed like a really good deal at the time. The day I live in the property that I manage because I found a long time ago it was a lot easier than living remotely and having people call you all the time with problems that you should have been there to take care of. The day we moved in to Manteca, one of my new tenants came up to me and said, "What are you going to do about my carpet?" "Oh, what's wrong with your carpet?" "It's all wrinkled." "Why is it wrinkled?" "From the flooding." Oh my goodness. It's really difficult to unravel a tax-deferred exchange. So instead of trying that and trying to sue everybody, I did some research. My wife did some research with me. The city of Manteca had been selling the same drainage capacity over and over again to successive developers. So whenever we had more than 2/3 of an inch of rain in an hour, and that's not a lot, it would flood into homes clear across the middle of town, including parts of the rental property that I have bought. So we organized our neighbors, and we got Stop Manteca Flooding shirts and Stop Manteca Flooding signs, and showed up at every single city council meeting and planning commission meeting for several years. And we would sit right in the front row behind the podium to where the cameras on the city's broadcast station would see us. And we drove them nuts. They eventually figured out what to do about it. They spent $2.5 million and they solved everybody's flooding problem except ours. Well, later on, the Spreckles establishment got converted into a multi-purpose residential and commercial development, and they built a very large and deep pond at the upper end of the drain that serves our property. And so we haven't really had a flooding problem since the early teens, since about 1911 when the thunderstorm came through. And I was feeling pretty smug, so I ran for city council. And of course by then the local development committee, which if you're familiar at all with local politics, the developers are very powerful locally in most cities and counties. They got together and they spent a ton of money on what's called a push poll. A push poll is a poll that starts off as a poll on the phone, but then they start saying things like, well, what do you think about a guy running for city council who does yada, yada, yada? Now, it doesn't need to be true, and it's usually not, but you don't get to counteract it because this is a conversation between them and between the pollster and the voter. And enough of that kind of questioning will tip an election almost without fail. So it was mine to lose, and I did manage to lose it. And that was kind of the end of my political career for a while. In January 17th, 1989, in Stockton, Patrick Purdy drove his station wagon down to the playground next to Cleveland School. And he sat there and waited for the recess. And the recess bell rang, and he lit his car on fire, and he pulled his automatic weapon out of the car, and he started shooting teachers and little kids. These were all immigrants from Southeast Asia, which that part of Stockton was mostly at that time, and he killed a bunch of them. That was the first real school shooting to get nationwide attention, and Dianne Feinstein, along with the incentive from the Harvey Milk shooting, started working on an assault weapon ban. And she and the allies that she recruited got it done, but the Republicans put a sunset clause in it. So eventually that went away, so we still have the problem. So I spent 22 years of trolling the gun nuts, which was fun. And then on January 8th, 2011, in Tucson, Jared Lee Loeffner approached Gabby Gifford's table at the Safeway, where she was talking with constituents in her Congress on Your Corner program that she liked to hold. And he shot her in the face and a whole bunch of other people, including 8-year-old Christina Taylor Greene, and one of the most respected federal judges in Arizona. That was on the 8th. Overnight, the man in the mirror said to me, they got one of their own shot, and they're not going to do anything. That means Congress. So if you want something done, you need to run for Congress, which is when I started. And the same goes for all of you. What is the importance of politics? You want something done, you need to run. Whether it's local or county or regional or water district or Congress or assembly or whatever, that's where you need to go. An impossible goal to change that? Maybe. But I have proven the first steps with the 140,919 votes I got last November. That's enough votes to win many congressional districts. It's twice it. 2 years ago, I received 109,000, which was more than twice as many as Valadeo received. So in some districts in California, 22 districts actually, I would have been winning. So there is an opportunity. What I succeeded in doing starting 2 years ago was showing that you can advocate an abolition of the right to keep and bear arms, make it a privilege, and you can still be a viable candidate. So I have basically met my first goal to prove it could be done. Now beyond that is to actually win a seat in Congress. For instance, in each of the last 4 elections, I received more votes than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So it depends on the district. Why is it important? That is the question. That's how we wound up with the current disaster in Washington. We are very close to losing our republic because a lot of people who should have voted in November did not vote. And a lot more people who should have voted to protect their own interests, like say, protect Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, instead got suckered by a guy who lies more than he tells the truth. Politics affects everything you care about. Vigilance is critical. You have to keep an eye out for what you value: the economy, the right to vote, the right to due process, whether your streets or interstates get repaired, whether the air traffic control system works, whether the dams upstream from where you live are built and maintained properly, whether water resources are distributed to the greatest need, whether people are treated equally and equitably rather than targeted for oppression, whether the populace is educated and has educational resources available, whether government is honest and fair, whether law enforcement is for you and not for themselves, whether or not some ill-informed politician will mess up the trade system that keeps your trucking company running, and so on. Oh, and whether or not you or your family get shot for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, just because your government does not yet decided it's time to protect you from that. All of this is politics, and if you do not participate, you risk losing everything. Number 2, identify your